Hi guys, and welcome to my review of the TANGZU FUDU verse 1, if I'm to say it correctly. This is the latest from TANGZU, a 1+2 hybrid, and they've, in my opinion, also kind of tried to break away a little bit from what has been the tuning style that they have used up to now. The tuning style that they've used up to now was a tuning style where the mids were kind of always in more evidence, and here the mids have been purposely kind of toned down. They're a little bit more laid back, and you feel as well then the bass in a different way. Also, the bass is not so much mid bass emphasized, but it's got more of that sub bass rumble. Anyway, this is the box of the FUDU, a very simple, very classy TANGZU style approach. Okay, you open it up. Worth mentioning as well that this is actually a collaboration with Venus, which is a brand that makes some really high quality tips. Okay, so you open up the lid, and underneath we find then the place where the IEM set. To the left hand side, we open this up and we have this little, let's say, section here where we find the tips, both the Venus tips, okay, and the Sankai tips as well. I tried both of them. Excuse me, ended up using the Sankai, not for any reason in particular, I just liked it more. That was it, they just fit me nicer, that's all. In terms of sound, it was the same thing basically. And to the right hand side, sorry about that, we have the case. The case is a soft one. It's not bad, it's got a good size, so you won't struggle to put the IEM inside here, even if you change the cable. I personally would have liked a solid case, but hey, that's just me. It's no issue. It's at least brings a case. It's pocketable, so that's fine. I guess overall I can say that the accessories and the presentation are favorable. Even the cable, although not a cable that will impress you by its thickness or anything, it's got a nice feel to it. Okay, it's a 4.4 mil. It's got a nice feel to it. 2-pin connection, nice terminations as well. Measured pretty decently. Nothing that was offensive. I tried a few other cables on the FUDU. I tried the vocal. I tried also the Emma. So I tried a few cables, and ultimately I just left it with the stock one because it was just fine. It sounded fine. There was no real improvement that was worthy of notice by using another cable. So the cable, although not looking the part, there are other more impressive looking cables at this price range. It's fine. It does the job. As for the IEMs themselves, they've got this kind of a finish which reminds me of the Hexa, the Truth is Hexa. This kind of semi-transparent style of 3D printed resin shell with a metal faceplate, okay, and an overall very classy, very understated kind of approach to the look. Very kind of very classy. That's the best word, honestly. The weight is very light. They are extremely light. There's no weight to them, which could have been a problem if they didn't fit properly. They fit really nicely. They've got a nice nozzle length. It's a metal nozzle. I'm using, as I mentioned, the Sankai tips, the large ones. The BAs sit more or less in the nozzle. Not the ideal position by according to some people, but honestly, in my opinion, didn't really offend me. And like I said, the fit is fine. It's perfect. It's got a nice nozzle length. In my ears, it fitted flawlessly. It sits in there perfect, doesn't budge. I can't really point anything negative with regards to the physical aspects of the FUDU. It's been done nicely. That's it. I mean, in the physical aspect, I think we've basically mentioned it. It's well built, looks good, looks the part. Not fatiguing in terms of wearing. It's easy to put on. It's not going to be a nightmare. The tips, be it the FUDU or be it the Sankai or be it the Venus or even the KB07s, because I tried those as well. They were easy to fit and get the IEM to sit in its place. That was not an issue there. Period. What do I then have here to compare the FUDU to? Well, I brought out some IEMs that obviously are kind of in the same price, and then some which are not in the same price but kind of have the vibe of the sound going. Okay, so I've got the TVJ May around $65, 1+2 as well. Probably one of the nicest underrated IEMs right now, under $100. Very nice tuning, kind of a W style tuning. Some emphasis on the bass, some emphasis on the mids, and then some emphasis on the treble, with the necessary dips in between those areas. It just sounds phenomenal. Honestly, it just sounds phenomenal. The bass is full. It's got more than enough weight, more than enough engagement. The mids are the right amount. It's got that dip past 2K, but it's just the right amount of dip. It's not excessive. And then the treble as well, the right amount of treble to not be aggressive, to just give the necessary sparkle for everything to just come together nicely. Okay, so I've got that. Next to that, I've got the Yume, the Midnight Edition, the C Audio Yume, the Midnight Edition. This is $179, so basically $100 more than the FUDU, but it's here because it was one of the IEMs besides the May that immediately reminded me of the FUDU when I listened to the FUDU the first time. So that's here for that reason. Similar style of bass, similar style of mids, similar style of treble, a little bit more detail in the treble here than there, actually, a little bit more. But overall, these two and the FUDU, they graph very similarly. Then I have here as well 3 others which are also more expensive, and although they're having a different kind of tune, there was some hints of DNA there. That reminded me of the FUDU. One is the Yume 2. Okay, enough has been said about it. I personally think it's one of the best OnePlus 2s you can get under $200. Period. The other one was the Aureolus Finchy 1+1, not a OnePlus 2 this time. It's the tonality of this that overall reminds me a lot of the FUDU, although the FUDU's got better mids, more open modes. There's more detail in the mids than there. Those are perhaps a little bit too restrained for some. And finally, the Softiers volume, $279. I mean, this is $179 roughly, so basically the same price as the Midnight. This is about $139 at AliExpress and some stores, and this is about $279. I got this particular FUDU. I got it from HIFIGO. As for the volume, as I was saying, it's the complete opposite of the Finchy in the sense that the bass is similar, but the mids, upper mids and highs are way more energetic than here. But again, at certain volume levels and with certain songs, there's a lot of similarity. There's a lot of kind of a similar vibe going on in terms of the sound. Okay, so more detail now with regards to the sound of the FUDU. The first thing when you listen to the FUDU, the first thing that at least captivated me and what I listened to is how nice the tonality and the timbre of the FUDU is. It's got this really nice, inviting bass that, it draws you in. It's not an IEM that will strike you by its energy. It's not an IEM that will strike you by all the details and so on. It's an IEM that will strike you rather by how pleasant it is to learn, how unfatiguing it is to listen to it. And you just get drawn in by it, It's not that it's got crazy amounts of detail that you are surprised by all the twinklies and the sparklies. No, it's just got the right amount of everything to make it very seductive. Okay, that's the thing that really got me with the FUDU, and to that extent it reminds me of the Midnight and also reminds me of the May, because these two IEMs also are very much like that. They've just got something about the way they're tuned that is very seductive. It draws you in. Ultimately, which will be more fun if we have to look at the fun aspect. Okay, probably Yume 2 will be more fun, more energetic, more forward mids, more better mids, more energetic, more detail, But these two are very, they seduce you, and that's what happens with the FUDU as well. Excuse me. The FUDU seduces you by the way that it presents itself. Okay, bass. It's got nice weight. It's not the quickest bass in the world, but again, I'm guessing that's more down to the way that they've tuned it. It's got a nice sub-bass rumble. You will feel that rumble like Sunrise from the live version from Larry Carlton. You feel that bass line there in the back. The same thing happens with La Belle Dame Sans Remorse. You feel that bass there in the back, that weight. Okay, it's got a nice weight to the bass. It's clean, it's detailed, it's fine. The mids, male and female vocals are perfect. I'll probably give male vocals up the edge slightly over the female vocals. Instruments are perfect. If anything, in a song like La Belle Dame Sans Remorse from Chris Botti. Maybe get smidge little more energy on the upper mids would have given just that trumpet the right just perfect tonality. But you know what? This is me really nitpicking. The truth is, it's not aggressive. It didn't hurt me, so I like it. Okay, I like it. Treble as well, very nicely done, very chilled out, very when you look at the graph you actually might not get that perception, but it's very relaxed, very chilled out, very smooth. Okay, not as detailed as for example the Midnight. As I was saying earlier, the Midnight, you do notice straight away if you are listening to one, you go on to the other, it's not in the bass or in the mids that you see the difference, it's in the amount of little extra amount of detail that you get in the treble here. And the treble here just sounds that extra more polished, basically, let's put it that way. Okay, in terms of its technicalities, I mean, for the price they are not bad. I was expecting perhaps maybe I was expecting the soundstage to be a little bit bigger, but you know, it's not bad. Soundstage is fine, imaging is fine, detailed retrieval again is fine. The timbre and the tonality are definitely the standout. Definitely, without a question, the timbre and the tonality are the two that really stand out. It's very correct. It makes everything sound very true, very organic, very old school, very vinyl like. Okay, and I like that. I really appreciate that. Obviously, the source will play to a certain extent an important role in actually bringing out that most. I really enjoyed it with the Cayenne, the RU7. Really, I mean, it makes a nice synergy with that. Compared then to the IEMs that I have here, what can I say? Well, let's start with the most expensive, with the soft tiers, with the volume. Yes, you do see straight away that, or you do hear rather, that straight away the volume is a more mature sound, more open in the mids, more energy in the mids, male, female, everything sounds more energetic, more open. But if you kind of volume match, you know, nicely, you get a very similar vibe from this to that. Not as detailed, but you kind of get a feeling. So you could say that this is a tamed down version of the volume overall. Okay, compared to the Finchy, the part that reminded me was the overall, the tonality and the timbre, because this has got more recessed mids than that. It's only a 1+1, it's not even a 1+2, but it's got more recessed mids than that. I mean, definitely it's not going to hurt you or try to kill you in any aspect, that's for sure. But you notice it's more closed down, not as open as the sound as it is here. So it will give you the sensation of being definitely more V-shaped in its signature, while this has got more of like a W-shaped signature. Okay, compared to the Yume 2, the Yume 2 is I mean, outright in the mids and in the highs, it's a better IEM. It's got more everything, more size to everything, more detail. It's very noticeable. Again, you do get that. It's like I said for the volume. I could say that this ultimately is a just more relaxed version of the Yume 2. Okay, relaxed in terms of overall energy, because if I crank the volume up, and it had a tendency of opening up the sound. It's an IEM that when you crank it up, it opens up the mids and the highs. And at that point, when you do that, then it kind of starts reminding you of the Yume 2. It kind of starts reminding you of the volume. And that's why they basically are here. It's because at the lower volumes, okay, you can definitely see the difference. But when you crank it up, it comes alive in a nice manner. It's in a very engaging manner. Compared to the Midnight, very similar. I mean, it's uncanny how similar it is to the Midnight. I'm not saying it's a Midnight, no, but I'm saying it's probably the Midnight and the May are probably the two IEMs that come, or rather the ones that the FUDU comes closest to in sound. And it's interesting because one is $180, the other one is $60 or $70. So you would expect it, you know, to come close to this, but to come close to the Midnight, I think it's an achievement. It's something which is a testament to that they did their work here, and you notice it very well in the way that the BAs were tuned, because the BAs being in the nozzle usually is not a good sign, but somehow they've been able to tune them so that it just have they are there in the right amount. Energy, everything is there in the right amount, and it's never aggressive, never too much, never offensive to you, and that shows that they did their work. They spent time tuning and wanted to get this to sound good. Compared to the Mate, like I was saying, it's probably again one the IEM that's the closest in terms of overall sound. It's also a W styled tune. Bass, mids, and highs are the 3 points that are emphasized, and they trade blows. Honestly, they really trade blows. Technically, the most capable out of all of this, I would say, of all of these, is the Yume 2. In terms of overall timbre and tonality, technically, yes, the Yume 2 and the volume, definitely, those two, trading blows. The ones that has the best timbre and the tonality, I would say the best timbre and the tonality, I would probably give it to the FUDU first, and then the May very close, the Midnight very close, and this just less because it's got way recessed mids. So this probably just takes the timbre and the tonality, with these two just following it very, very closely. In terms of the overall bass and how the bass is and the quality of the bass, that's a tough one, because I mean, this has got really, really good sub bass. This has also got really good sub bass. But if I look at bass as bass and mid bass, you know, they are all very, very evenly matched. Very, very evenly matched. There's no one outright winner here. Okay, mids. I would probably have to give the mids overall, in terms of their energy and everything, to the Yume 2 and the volume, and highs, definitely the Yume 2. It's got cleaner highs than the volume, although they are as energetic. It's just got cleaner highs there. So that's it, guys. I mean, I think I've positioned well here the FUDU. I can compare it to other IEMs if you want me to. I just thought that these comparisons were interesting to make. It shoots, in my opinion, above its price point. It, you know, the fact that it's here trading a certain amount of blows with things like the Midnight, things like the Yume 2, things like the volume, it's commendable. I'm not saying that it's better than those IEMs, but there are occasions where the music that I'm listening to, I actually prefer to listen to it here than what I do over there. So that for me counts for something, you know. And that's it, guys. I mean, if you know, for lack of knowing what other comparisons to make, or you know, if you guys think of something that you would like me to compare it to, just please let me know. All right, I'll show you another graphs and we'll wrap it up. Hi guys, and welcome now to the graph section for the TANGZU FUDU. Let me just do away with some of these graphs so that we can start seeing things a little bit better. Okay, and okay. All right, there we go. So this is the graph of the FUDU. As you can see, nice healthy sub-bass emphasis. Not really any significant bleed into the mids, I would say, at least not one that I would consider to be detrimental. Everything sits within 65, roughly 10 dB, so there's a 10 dB pin again into the bass, not so much into the mids. The mids stay within about a 7 dB window, roughly. Very relaxed pin again, peaks at close to 2, kind of maintains itself, almost plateaued, just a small dip, then peaks again, another dip, couple related, and some extension past 10k. It's very, like I said earlier during my review, it's a very chilled out listening experience. Warm, definitely, but very chilled out, and there's always just the right amount of energy in the mids and the highs to kind of complement this for about, I would say, 95% of the times, or at least for what I listen to. Compared to the CVJ May, as you can see, the similarities are, well, I don't need to speak a lot more, and I'm a very big fan of the CVJ May and the sound that it has, and you can see it's almost identical. You know, they trade blows. Honestly, they trade blows, even with regards to the technicalities, which is the area where you will probably see the biggest differences. They are very, very identical. All right. Compared then to the C Audio Crin collaboration, the Yume Midnight. Again, an uncanny similarity in the graph. Somehow, for some reason, and I'm assuming that it has to do with the extension that it has past 10k, there just seems to be a little bit more air, a little bit more detail in that treble of the Midnight as compared to the FUDU. It's not a huge difference, but enough to be noticeable, okay? As compared to the C Audio UMA 2, this here already slightly more different. You can see that the UMA 2 has got way more energetic mids across the whole range, more extension past 10k, more 3D-ness, more definitely superior technically wise. And although the bass seems like it's less, it is less or perceived as less, more because there's more energy in the mids, upper mids and highs than necessarily being less when you actually listen to it. Okay. Next one is the volume. Again, kind of very similar, as you can see, to the UMA 2, the same kind of vibe. There's not a huge difference. A little bit less apparent treble and extension past 10k, but not really noticeable. And the bass is very similar. I mean, the UMA 2's got the volume has got really nice bass, really nice bass. And I personally think that the mids that it has are perfect. They're not overly energetic or forward or anything. They're perfect. They never really bug me. And I mean, if I have to put here the UMA 2 next to it, you can see let me just take away the FUDU. You can see they graph very similarly. There's if you're gonna say that the volume has high energy mids, then or upper mids, then what would you say about the mids and upper mids of the UMA 2? That's my question. Anyway, that's those two as well out of the way. Number 5 is the Aureolus Finchy, and this one is the one that yes, is a little bit more subdued in terms of its upper mids and treble as compared to the FUDU. The bass is about the same. It's obviously a little bit more intense or more noticeable because you have that lack of energy there in upper mids and treble. But again, it was a tonality that kind of reminded me the Finchy, the May, and the Kren. These four, they have a very similar vibe of sound. It's I know it might sound weird what I'm saying, because obviously you can see that there's differences. I'm just changing the color there. You can see that there's differences there. The Finchy, apparently the most bassy, also the least energetic in terms of the upper mids. But when you listen to all of these four, there is obviously, you pick up on the differences, but they sound very similar. And the May out of all of them is the one that sounds the closest or the most similar to the FUDU. And yeah, that's it, guys. I mean, there's really not much more I can say. Do I recommend the FUDU? Yes, I definitely do recommend the FUDU if this is what you're looking for. A nice solid tune with a more of a warm tonality, very old school kind of sound. If that's what you want, this is one of those IEMs that if you are a fan, for example, of Penon and ISN and the way they tune their IEMs, you will definitely enjoy this, because having this amount of bass doesn't mean that it has to lose clarity or detail or anything. And the reality is that when you listen to it, it has maintained a lot of that detail or that clarity to make things sound still very correct. And that's the magic that I think that the FUDU has been able to hit perfectly. All right. Anyway, guys, as always, like and subscribe. Any questions, please feel free to hit me up, and I'll do my best to answer. Take care now. Bye-bye.